I want to welcome you back to Enemy of My Truth. And I'm so excited to bring Chase Rosa back on the podcast today. Chase has been on a powerful journey of finding himself, learning what honesty, vulnerability, and healing truly mean in his own life. Out of that journey, he and three other incredible men have created an online space called The Conversation for Men. It's a place where men can come together, speak openly, and step into their own truths. What I admire about Chase's work is that it shines a light on the strength found in vulnerability and the courage it takes to begin walking this path. You can find more information about The Conversation for Men in the show notes. And before we dive in, I want to pause with an important note. If you or someone you love is struggling with substance or alcohol abuse, please know you are not alone. Support is available, and you can call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration line at 1-800-662-4357. Again, that's 1-800-662-HELP. This is a free and confidential service available 24/7 that connects you with treatment and resources in your area. Now, I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump in and welcome Chase Rosa back to Enemy of My Truth. So I want to welcome Chase Rosa to the podcast today. Chase, so good to see you.
Thanks, Anne, for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be speaking with you again and working together. And for those of you who've listened to Chase's podcast of The Driving Force, we have done a podcast together. He invited me on his, and here we are, kind of a full circle coming back. And I'm just really excited to talk to you, Chase, about your journey and perhaps how our paths have crossed and how you've stepped into your life today and what that looks like. So I want to start with what experiences, Chase, or turning points led you to seek out this kind of work together, and even with others in the healing space, and what opened you up to stepping into this spiritual path?
Yeah, thanks, Anne. So for me, it probably began around my mid 20s. I'm 30 now, but I really didn't kind of step into this work and working with you and kind of delving more deep into spirituality until the ending of pretty significant romantic relationship for me. It was about 4 years ago now. It was a very intense, passionate, but short-term relationship that ended abruptly, and left me not only with the grief of losing that relationship, but also a bit confused. And I was kind of just searching for answers, how to move forward, um, and how to deal with this loss. Um, and in seeking help for this, I had been working, with a therapist too. But my mom, who has done some work with you, um, mentioned your name, and I was open enough at the time to reach out and and give it a shot, and here we are now. Um, so the work that we did, and you kind of helping guide me through kind of what happened in that relationship, why it didn't kind of work out, and um, giving me tools to help me process and move forward was really, really helpful. And I guess in terms of like the grief and dealing with that, um, I think, and you talk about this too, grief kind of really cracking us open.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and that certainly happened for me, for sure. Making me delve more deeply into spirituality and wanted to bring more awareness in terms of how I approached all types of relationships. Not just romantic. Um,
Well, I want to add to that too, that you talk about relationships with others, but I wonder, Chase, that cracking open of that relationship, as I think for so many of us, and I can only speak for myself, that relationships, you know, show us so much about ourselves. The things that where we have our trauma, where we have our weaknesses, where we have our fear. And I feel like the only way we can really go there, obviously, is to go through the risk of falling in love and meeting those people because it allows us to see ourselves in a way that we didn't prior to that relationship, right? There's a sacrifice there. And if we could say every relationship we step into is going to be it, I think everybody goes into that feeling like that's what it's going to be. But it's the aftermath of that breakup, like you talked about, of questioning basically yourself and what that did for you. Do you look at yourself now today from that say relationship and so much time has passed, but in seeing who you are today and maybe the Chase at that point that just was trying to figure it out?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. A lot more aware, kind of how I was speaking to before, and intentional kind of how I approach, all different types of relationships, whether that's coworkers or family, friends, etc. Um, and not just working with you, Anne, but following that relationship and wanting to heal and learn from that. I was of the mindset like I never want to go through that feeling again or like make the mistakes that I did. And he maybe I don't know if necessarily getting to that relationship in the first place because I think it was a looking back important for me to go through that. But in order for me to search for, a healthy long-term relationship, um, I knew there's a lot of growing and learning I had to do. So I was listening to, tons of relationship podcasts, Mark Groves, who I know you talk about a lot, um, reading all sorts of different types of books, and in going through that, learning more about myself and I guess my own sort of traumas and how whatever my parents raised me, etc., might contribute to how I approached, different sorts of relationships. So, in a much better place now in a healthy long-term relationship. I'm engaged, so that work has obviously done some positive things. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to kind of tapping into that a little bit more as we get into the interview, hearing more about that. But I hear you, Chase, and it's the vulnerability and the rawness, and relationships are humbling because the mirror is placed at us, and it's our work to do. So, but what I love about that experience for you is that it opened doors for other places for you to explore, to see who you were through other modalities and meeting people, which is all the pieces of where you are today. Um, so that being said, of all the tools, practices, and even the people you've encountered, which have impacted you the most, and how have they shaped the way you see yourself and move through life?
yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, and I would be remiss to not mention this, would be martial arts and the martial arts training that I've done. Um, like many kids, I did karate, then transitioned to something called Wing Chun Kung Fu, and then did Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for about 6 years. Um, Particularly earlier in my life, in my preteen and teenage years, I felt a real pull towards martial arts and that sort of training. Part of that influence definitely coming from my dad, who was a black belt in Wei-Chun karate and medaled in the world championships. Uh, but something about the discipline around it, the philosophy around kind of the mind-body connection, I just sort of felt this kind of intuitive, natural pull towards that. Um, and also Bruce Lee, who probably a lot of people know. I just loved his movies growing up, and this one quote, which is pretty famous of his, which is "Be water, my friend." I was just, I don't know, this really hit me even when I was young, and being able to apply that to other aspects of life and kind of flowing with different challenges, not meeting force with force, etc. So a lot of that training, that sort of philosophy behind martial arts, has definitely carried me until with me until now. Um, and today it's kind of a more so unconscious internal programming, I guess, if you want to put it that way. Since I don't train much anymore due to me getting injured. Um, so yeah, one martial arts is definitely one piece, and then maybe to broaden that a little bit more, just a consistent daily movement practice that's intentional. Um, in my case, going to the gym, lifting weights, playing tennis, going to yoga, going for a run, whatever it might be. Just connecting back to my body, um, getting out of my head. It's just really key for me in lessening my anxiety, centering my nervous system. And so yeah, it's a lot of that can be attributed to the way my parents raised me too, and the value they placed on exercise. So yeah, I just see myself as an athlete based on kind of all I just said. Maybe just now more of a corporate athlete since I work in the corporate world. So
Well,
yeah,
you're working that physical energy that translates to the emotional and mental energy that we walk around with, and you talk about, that discipline that's needed, I think, for all of us, but what a beautiful space and container to have it in with the martial arts. And I would think that, your time with that really allowed you to go, inward and to really go and have that presence that is required in things that we step into today, whether that's our intuition, if that's relationship, if it's really listening to our inner truth. Um, does that make sense?
yeah, definitely. It's helped with emotional, I guess, emotional maturity and control, I
Yeah.
guess I would say.
Hmm.
Um, in that regard, I've been told by a lot of people, my kind of emotional wavelength is very steady. I don't know how people listening, I'm going like I'm taking my arm and just going kind of going in a straight line instead of like zigzagging all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
um, so martial arts has definitely kind of helped me with that and kind of like emotional regulation in that standpoint. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But I want to go back to one thing you said about be water. Because isn't that a great message for ourselves to go with the flow, to don't, we create our own resistance through our thoughts and our emotions, but also allowing ourselves to be water within relationship to others and allow that person to be water as well when we're trying to stop it or put the dam up. It's such a great invitation, and reminder that, how do we allow more flow in our lives to create ease and to trust our journey. So I love that you brought that up because I can really see that visualization and I can see how that has translated, into how you show up today for yourself and bringing that sense of structure and foundation and flow.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And it's definitely easier said than done for sure, especially for me when it came to relationships. In particular, I definitely was someone who needed that practice in terms of kind of moving and being water, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess it helped give me a little bit of a head start.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's fantastic. And I admire that greatly. So, Chase, what challenges have tested you the most? And in rising above them, how have they strengthened the core of who you are today? And the advice you'd share with someone starting their own journey now?
Yeah. Yeah. Ahead of this podcast, and I struggled to figure out what to pick here. Uh, but one that was like pretty apparent for me is alcohol and my journey with alcohol and the challenges for me around that. Um, I guess I'll start by saying I'm not like an alcoholic. It wasn't like that this sort of a situation, but someone who you know might have in my earlier 20s and obviously in college like many people would have like a drink here and there during the week and then maybe have quite a bit more on the on the weekends. So I guess maybe to give some context around this, my parents were never big drinkers. My dad doesn't drink at all. Um, it was never something that appealed to me in high school. I wasn't around friends who really chose to drink that much. But going into college, the pressure there, um, it kind of really just got me into it, which worked fine until I got into the real world. And then things started to shift quite a bit. When I was in my first job working private equity, I was working a lot and then going out on the weekends. Um, so Sundays hungover, that sort of thing, and then Mondays not feeling great. And but as I got older in my 20s, the hangovers got worse, didn't bounce back as fast. and found that the days of have after having two to three drinks or even one drink, that following day I was more anxious, more depressed, just in a bad headspace. So um, it's throughout my 20s, it's been a bit of a journey, particularly around the social challenges around that, I guess. Um, I guess the social pressure to drink, especially in being in groups where others were drinking, um, feeling like I needed to loosen up with a drink in order to kind of be comfortable. And that was has definitely been a big area of growth for me. It's something I'm a lot better with now. I've had like one drink in the last 6 months, which has been great. I just feel much more clear, higher energy, better vibrational state, kind of all of those things. So, long story short, it's been a huge test. It's been a huge test for me. But then rising above, I guess, has brought me a more sense of, I guess, just confidence, self-assuredness, being able to say no, thank you, when someone offers me a drink and be kind of confident in that and knowing that it's what's best for me. Um, so yeah. Oh, and then advice. So I guess for people who, and I think there are a lot of people out there who are might be in that situation of not alcoholics, but maybe have this thought come through of, and I did many times throughout my 20s, like maybe I should stop drinking, or maybe this isn't like great for me, and maybe I should start drinking a little less. I would say definitely trust that. Don't ignore it. Um, and maybe start small in terms of how you approach it. Maybe if you can take like drink, have one drink less than you normally would, one night, or on top of that, talk to it about someone that you trust and would give you unbiased, honest feedback. For me, that was a life coach. It was Anne, and then listening to other podcasts around the topic. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, Chase, because it's something I think a lot of individuals can relate with, and I think it goes back to whatever energy we're using to um, disconnect with, right? Whether that's alcohol, food, drugs, sex. Like it's all the things, the spending. And so for you, that journey with you is alcohol. And what I'm hearing from you too is, you know, you started to really listen to yourself, not what your friends were needing you to do, not what, the groups around you, your friendships, your age group, your environment. You started to really listen to yourself and question things. And I think that's great because we question ourselves. It's like we don't know how to trust what our inner guidance is really nudging us towards. And, you know, did you did you have that nudge for, was it this months or years that you would tell yourself like I just gotta like slow down a bit? Did this happen for a while?
uh, it did, it did, and for me, yeah, it's just been hard. I would go a few months without drinking and then get back into like the same sort of social situation of, hey, we're going out, um, whatever, to dinner, and then we're gonna have go to this bar, have drinks, and you know, lo and behold, I'd have, handful of drinks, feel bad the next day, like, oh, like the thought that many people have, like, why did I do that? Blah 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 blah. So it was a few years of definitely many mistakes and kind of going back to those same old patterns. And I don't think there was like a time I could really pinpoint of kind of how really shifted that. Um, Maybe it's just kind of me growing more, and just kind of stepping into kind of my own power, I guess, for lack of a better word, and kind of just saying no to those situations and just kind of being stronger, I guess, in those situations. So it was just kind of time and just
Yeah.
growing up that I was able to gain more confidence. It's not easy, and who knows, maybe I might make that same mistake again in a couple of years. I don't think so, but I try to I try to be a little bit more, I guess, oh, maybe this is it. Like the last few times, being a little bit more kind of gracious with myself after the fact, if I did kind of,
Yeah.
have a little bit too much, um, instead of beating myself up about it. I think in those cases that actually kind of made things worse. So
Yeah, I can really feel that, and it's almost as though the journey of time gives us the gift of awareness, right? It's so subtle. It's not like, oh, what did you do? It's like, well, actually, I just became aware, and that awareness shows up differently each time. Like you might go to a social function and you just really are not connecting with anybody there. Or even when you do connect, it's because there's alcohol involved or there's whatever substance. And so it sounds like this journey for all of us, but for you too. And I can, count myself into that is this awareness just gradually and subtly comes into our life that, you know, a weekend will pop up and you're like, I really just don't want to go spend 3 hours at the bar or wherever it is and then feel terrible the next day and not feel like anything's changed. There's no depth there. And also what I'm hearing from you is this perspective has changed for you. And I think that's important too, as you talk about like, I could step back into this pattern. I think anybody could step back into a pattern. But one of the things that I'm hearing from you is this energy of awareness. And it's like once we know, we can't unknow. It's the knowing that almost becomes intolerable to be around people that were once our friends or our partners or our family that we have a very hard time being with because we're trying to align our own energy. And a lot of times that doesn't align with the friendships we've held for years, or even our current relationship, or even our family members. Like I say, we can love our family, we just don't always like them. And so I can hear that journey for you and that perspective and that awareness. And I think also awareness too, Chase. I don't know if you agree with this, but awareness is humbling because we can be aware and still make the wrong choices and decisions, right?
for sure, yeah, I did as it relates to alcohol, definitely.
Yeah, definitely so. But I appreciate your honesty with that and relatability and just understanding the journey of what you've been on and where you are today. So I have a last question for you, and we could keep going and talking, but you know, if you were to introduce yourself in this moment, not by what you do, but who you've become, how would you describe who you are today as Chase Rosa?
Yeah, I would say I'm an explorer first and foremost. I'm a Sagittarius sun for all those astrology people listening. But that's a
Oh, we
topic for me for another time.
we'll do the astrology podcast at some point. That's coming. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, just someone searching for how I can be the best human I can be. More recent years, I'm trying to make this shift towards someone who values giving and receiving love versus kind of proving myself and to others. Um, Someone who values depth in life and as well as truth and connecting with others who align with those values. The conversation for men and the group there kind of being one thing related to that I've really stepped into. It's been really great finding other like-minded people and well more specifically men to have these sort of deep conversations and be vulnerable with each other has been really great and powerful. Um, and just to add on to that, I'm more interested now in creating a harmonious life, and I guess developing a my vessel, I guess for lack of a better word, not to sound too woo woo, um, that can handle the challenges of life rather than kind of racing for more stuff, more money, whatever it is, in order to feel safe. So that's the chase I'm trying to become, and hopefully, um, maybe others might see a little bit of that today too.
I love that. I mean, there's so much for me to kind of reflect on this of what you just shared. And one of the things I wanted to share is you have stepped into creating a space with some incredible men through Conversations for Men and the platform you guys are creating right now. Do you want to share anything about that a little bit, Chase?
Uh, yeah, sure. So, with the help of your guidance and kind of connecting us four guys, me, Josh, Chris, and Ross, we developed this space for men to really come together and, you know, I guess share whatever they want to share in a safe space. We're currently doing that over Zoom. We've taken a little bit of a pause during the summer, but hope to kind of ramp that back up in the fall, and maybe do some in-person events as well. But yeah, just bring together groups of men that value depth, value meaningful conversations, and are looking to uh, maybe step more into themselves and reclaim their power, or maybe they have the thought like, I think there's more to life than kind of what I'm living right now, and want to connect with other people who might be able to help them um, discover that, figure that out, etc. Maybe they don't really have anyone to talk about that with. We want to be that space that welcomes them in and invites them to discuss that and share that. So
I love that. I love that. And I would ask you one more thing with this. How has it felt for you, Chase, to connect and come into this tribe with Ross, with Josh, and with Chris?
it's felt like coming home. It's a very warm feeling. It's yeah, it just feels like a coming home. I don't know if I can really add much more to that. If I feel like I do add more, I might take away from it. But yeah, it just feels like a coming home, something that was just sort of meant to do, and it feels right. There are certain things in in life that I just feel like are just so just essentially true, and just so good for the world. And I just think that this collective, this community that we've created, is it just kind of fits into that. It just like there's just so much good that can be done with it, and why wouldn't I join that? And if I don't have the skills or whatever, I'm not like a Reiki practitioner or whatever, at least I can be a beacon of light to invite other guys to really step into this community and be like, hey, this I know for sure that this is good for the world, for men, for raising people's awareness. I just know it and I want to be a part of it. So
Yeah, I that just brings me so much joy to hear that, and the vulnerability that the four of you bring in, and the authenticity, and also your life paths that are so different but come together for this common thread of just simply connecting and having a voice. And there's so much that you bring to that, Chase. And you say you're not a Reiki practitioner. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, not yet.
yeah,
So
yeah,
one of these days we might pull you into a class, but I appreciate you sharing, because there sometimes are no words when you meet people. It's as though, as we know, we're coming home to each other and that friendship and that group. So thanks for sharing about the conversation with men. And I know they can find you on Instagram, and I'm going to put information in the show notes. People can reach out to you. But I do want to circle right back to the things that you said about who you are today, and some powerful things about, accepting and receiving love. And that means it's honoring yourself. It's honoring all the wounds, all the challenges, the mistakes, the things that we've perfected that we don't know how to own, the good parts of ourselves that allow us to be in a place to receive these incredible places and these things, and these opportunities from others. So I love to hear what you're doing. And it sounds like for you, Chase, it's like for all of us, that it's just a constant change. It's like it's constantly changing and evolving, right? Where you would have been last week or last month with a thought process or a perspective, it changes. And hearing where you're coming from, and also knowing a bit of you personally, the beautiful relationship container that you're in, and everything that you're moving into, and seeing the progress and the growth and the honesty of you being really real and vulnerable, means a lot. Means a lot. And I've had the honor of getting to know you not only professionally but personally as well, and really enjoying watching your journey. And the light that you share with others is really important. So I want to thank you.
thanks, Ed. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here today, and I know we'll be doing more of these. I think we're going to be talking again with a group of Conversation for Men in a few weeks. So you'll be hearing Chase a bit on the podcast. But Chase, so grateful for our connection and grateful for you sharing your journey with the audience.
Awesome. This was fun. Thanks, Dad.
Got it. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.